If I doubt, does that mean I'm a bad Christian? And does God even want to use me with all of my doubts? We're gonna go to the Bible for the answer right now. My name is Mitchell Johnson, and my desire is to create content for saints and skeptics who desire to follow Jesus in our day and age. So to help me get more content to the people that need it, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel. In Matthew 28:18-20, this passage is called the Great Commission. This is a huge charge from Jesus, and they're some of his last words. This is a really big task, and I know that when I have a big task that I want to give to somebody, I want to make sure that they're all in and ready to go. I need to make sure that they fully believe in what we're doing. But that's not the attitude that the disciples had after they saw Jesus resurrected from the dead. There have been times where I've read this passage, and it's hard for me to picture myself actually being trusted with something as great as the Great Commission. And maybe you've been here before where you've doubted yourself and therefore doubted the power of God. Maybe you're a Christian that's full of doubt. Is God really real? Can I actually trust God with all of my life? Is God going to do the things that he said he will do? These are huge questions, and we need to figure out how Jesus feels about us in our doubts. This scene that I'm about to read is right after Jesus reveals himself to the disciples, and he tells them to go meet them at a mountain. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, and when they saw him, they worshiped him, but some doubted. The disciples had two reactions when they saw Jesus. They worshiped and they doubted. This word worship can also mean fell down or bow down. It doesn't mean that they were having the type of worship service that we're thinking about where somebody has a guitar and there are words on the screen and everybody's singing. No, they fell down and worship. All throughout the Bible, this is how humans respond when they come into contact with God. But notice that also some doubted. And when you think about the scene, there was probably more of a Venn diagram where most of them were in between worshiping and doubting. Does Jesus scold them? Does he shame them? Does he dismiss them and tell them to leave the mountain until they get their act together? You maybe think Jesus would do something like that because of how he's represented in our culture, but Jesus didn't do that. He doesn't even take away their identity as his disciples. So what does Jesus do? You may be familiar with John 20 and the story about the disciple that's dubbed as Doubting Thomas. And Doubting Thomas says that unless I can place my finger in the scars of his side, I will never believe. And if you're like me, you're probably thinking, dude, you just saw this guy die and now you see him alive. What more evidence do you need? But I believe that's how some of us are. Maybe it's not seeing Jesus in person. Some of us have experienced God in the realest way possible. We've experienced God speak to us through his word. We've seen God answer some of our most desperate prayers. We've seen his power at work in other people's lives and even our own. Yet you may still find yourself doubting. The idea of Jesus that was probably communicated to you verbally or non-verbally as this type of God that's high in the sky with arms folded, just looking down at you, waiting for you to mess up and say, I told you so. That is not who Jesus is at all. On this side of heaven, doubt is a part of the human experience. And just because you doubt doesn't mean that you don't believe in Jesus. It just means that you're human. Jesus handles our doubts way differently than we handle our own doubt. Times where I've had rough patches in my faith and I doubted how good God was towards me. I made the mistake of pushing myself further away from Jesus. And I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Maybe there have been times where you've pushed yourself away from Jesus and community when you're doubting. But the good news is that Jesus wants your messy worship and your messy faith. If our generation can worship God when we don't even have all of the answers, when we can't see the end of the road, and especially when life gets tough and when it's hard to follow Jesus, I think we'll see revival. Doubt doesn't disqualify you from worship, and your doubts don't even disqualify you from the Great Commission. Jesus is saying these words right before he gives the Great Commission to his disciples. So if those men and women who saw Jesus resurrected from the dead, they saw the holes in his hands and on his side, and some of them still doubted, and he still entrusted those people with his Holy Spirit and with his mission, that means that even you with your messy faith, even you with all of your doubt, are welcome to the family of God and to God's mission. So if you're someone who's been having a hard time in your faith, Jesus doesn't disqualify us from a relationship with him and his mission if we doubt. I would love it if you were to subscribe to my channel so that I can continue making content for young saints and skeptics.